using gas to deal with peak electricity demand.
Yeah.
Yeah, so sure, that works, but do we want it to? Do we need it? No. Do we want it? No. Because you can do the exact same thing, but better with hydroelectric power, pumped hydroelectric power, batteries. These all accomplish the same thing better and faster. In fact, the response time of batteries is instantaneous. The response time of natural gas is much slower. It's like 20% per minute. So it could take up to 5 minutes for a natural gas turbine to be ramped up fast enough to provide 100% backing power, where it takes a millisecond for a battery. For hydropower, it takes 15 seconds for 100% power. So both hydropower and batteries are much more efficient than natural gas at providing backup power. And in Canada, you have a lot of hydropower, and there's plenty. A lot of it's not used right now for peaking. It's used more for baseload. But as I mentioned earlier, batteries are becoming cheaper, and they're being implemented worldwide, not only in California, where I mentioned we already have 3 gigawatts of batteries. 3 gigawatts is like 3-4 nuclear power plants worth of batteries in terms of its peak power. And in South Australia, similar, there's a lot of batteries that are saving a lot of money because of the fast ramp rate of the batteries. And because we have, as I mentioned, there are many other ways now to provide to actually match power demand with supply. There's overgeneration of renewables, there's interconnecting through the transmission grid, there's storage, there's demand response. Demand response is actually the cheapest way to help with peaking power. In fact, we've had demand response in California for many years, where I have an electric house, electric cars, electric heat pumps. I generate my own solar, and I sell electricity back to the grid. But I also, at night, let's say, or sometimes in winter when I don't have enough electricity, I'll use grid electricity. But on average over the year, I send 20% more electricity than I need back to the grid. So I overgenerate over the year. But there are 3 rates. So the lowest rate is between 11 p.m. and 7 a.m. The highest rate is generally between 3 p.m. and 9 p.m. And there's a middle rate for all other hours. So for charging an electric car, you're incentivized, because in summer, that difference between the high rate and the low rate is a factor of 5, between 55 cents a kilowatt hour versus 11 cents a kilowatt hour. That's a factor of 5 difference. So people are incentivized strongly to charge their electric cars at night and not to use electricity when we have peak time of demand, which is in the late afternoon. And that helps to prevent blackouts on the grid. Now, when we go to much more solar on the grid, we'll find that it's actually more efficient to charge electric cars during the day. But right now we have a lot of solar, but not enough that you need to change that time. But my point is that that's a way to keep the grid stable by charging different electricity rates at different times of the day, in addition to more storage and using more hydropower for peaking rather than baseload, and also interconnecting geographically dispersed renewables and oversizing them.